When I look at what went down with Pete Hegseth and Mike Waltz and John Radcliffe and Tulsi Gabbard, I'm not so sure it wasn't a total setup. And I say this just because it's a little random to add somebody onto your Signal chat. I'm also going to point out that the Signal chat was considered secure in something that Biden's CIA encouraged them to use. We can talk some more about it, but what I want to get to first is this bizarre little number. Katherine Maher, former head of Wikipedia, now head of NPR. She happens to be the head of the board for the Signal app where all this went down. Oh, Jay Sullivan's on there too. Interesting, don't you think? I mean, in the 6 degrees of separation spirit, I mean, why was Katherine Maher the head of this thing? And does it point to an inside job? I think it was. Listen, I don't know anything. These are just my instincts and my intuition, which tends to be right and has been right over and over and over again. I don't think that this was just by chance. How is it that Jeffrey Goldberg, of all people, would be put on this? An Atlantic reporter? He was put on there because they knew he would sing their song and dance their dance. He was put on there because they knew he would come straight to the Democrats. He wouldn't go to the White House. He would also look at it very seriously. And again, I'm just saying, I don't know. Could it have been the Biden administration doing something? Could it have been somebody else, just wanting to keep tabs on these folks, right? Because the deep state wants to make sure they're not doing anything totally crazy. They want to keep an eye on Pete Hegseth and company. I'm not sure, but I do think it's peculiar that Katherine Maher is the head of the board. And let me just be really clear. NPR is not a fair organization in any way, shape, or form, as Brandon Gill so articulately put forward in yesterday's hearings with her. She was a train wreck. I believe Jesse Waters referred to her as trying to play the dumb blonde. Oh, I don't remember this, that, or the other. She's not as dumb as she looks. This woman, in my estimation, is a total liar. I suspect she's quite dangerous. I think it's weird that she's head of the Signal board and that all of this was found out on Signal. Let's watch Brandon with her. He takes her down.
Maher, I want to start with you. Just generally, would you say you generally agree or disagree with the following statement? The history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles?
I would not say I agree with that, sir.
You're not. That's good to hear. It's interesting because a lot of your thinking, as expressed by your public statements, is deeply infused with economic and cultural Marxism. Do you believe that America is addicted to white supremacy?
I believe that I tweeted that, and as I've said earlier, I believe much of my thinking has evolved over the last half decade.
It has evolved. Why did you tweet that?
I don't recall the exact context, sir, so I wouldn't be able to say.
Okay. Do you believe that America believes in black plunder and white democracy?
I don't believe that, sir.
You tweeted that in reference to a book you were reading at the time, apparently, The Case for Reparations.
I don't think I've ever read that book, sir.
You tweeted about it. You said you took a day off to fully read The Case for Reparations. You put that on Twitter in January of 2020.
Apologies, I don't recall that I did.
Okay.
I'd no doubt that your tweet there is correct, but I don't recall that.
Okay. Do you believe that white people inherently feel superior to other races?
I do not.
You don't? You tweeted something to that effect. You said, I grew up feeling superior. How white of me. Why did you tweet that?
I think I was probably reflecting on what it was to grow up in an environment where I had lots of advantages.
It sounds like you're saying that white people feel superior.
I don't believe that anybody feels that way, sir. I was just reflecting on my own experiences.
Do you think that white people should pay reparations?
I have never said that, sir.
Yes, you did. You said it in January of 2020. You tweeted, yes, the North, yes, all of us, yes, America, yes, our original collective sin and unpaid debt, yes, reparations, yes, on this day.
I don't believe that was a reference to fiscal reparations, sir.
What kind of reparations was it a reference to?
I think it was just a reference to the idea that we all owe much to the people who came before us.
That's a bizarre way to frame what you tweeted. Okay, how much reparations have you personally paid?
Sir, I don't believe that I've ever paid reparations.
Okay, it's just for everybody else.
I'm not asking anyone
Seems
to pay
to be what you're
reparations, sir.
suggesting. Do you believe that looting is morally wrong?
I believe that looting is illegal, and I refer to it as counterproductive. I think it should be prosecuted.
Do you believe it's morally wrong, though?
Of course.
Of course. Then why did you refer to it as counterproductive? It's a very different way to describe it.
It is both morally wrong and counterproductive, as well as being
You
illegal.
tweeted, "It's hard to be mad about protests," in reference to the BLM protests, not prioritizing the private property of a system of oppression. You didn't condemn the looting. You said that it was counterproductive. NPR also promoted a book called In Defense of Looting. Do you think that that's an appropriate use of taxpayer dollars?
I'm unfamiliar with that book, sir, and I don't believe that was at my
You
time at
tweeted
NPR.
that you read that book, but
I don't believe that I did read that book, sir.
do you?
Oh my gosh. I mean, and it went on and on and on and on. I'm blown away. I'm sorry, I'm laughing so hard and I'm still getting over a cold. So like it trips me up. But he's like, and Brandon's great, by the way. And he actually is the son-in-law of my dear friend Dinesh D'Souza. And I love Dinesh's daughter, Danielle. They're just a wonderful family. But he's really smart. And he's very fastidious about his stuff. So I'm sure he had all his research and he looked at all these tweets and he's like, yeah, you tweeted it. Like, what's going on, lady? What is going on? Who is she, really? I mean, she's a Middle Eastern scholar, a student from NYU that then went to Cairo University and grew up in Tony Fairfield County, Connecticut. Doesn't really believe the truth matters at all. I showed you that clip in one of her TED Talks. I mean, the head of NPR talking about how like truth is just, it's not really that important. Why? Because it's her truth. What she believes should be true is what she's trying to promote. So just keep this in mind, you guys, because she is the woman who is chair of the board of Signal. Signal is the app that these guys got caught talking on by a totally liberal reporter who's probably part of her cabal, shall we say. And it's strange. Like, it's really strange. I'm going to go back to Laura. I love Laura. And Laura had Mike Waltz on. Mike Waltz is trying to explain this. He's like, I'm responsible. But she's asking the same questions I'm asking and you're asking because this doesn't make any sense.
But I can tell you for 100%, I don't know this guy. I know him by his horrible reputation, and he really is the bottom scum of journalists. And I know him in the sense that he hates the president, but I don't text him. He wasn't on my phone, and we're going to figure out how this happened.
So you don't know what staffer is responsible for this right now?
Well, look, a staffer wasn't responsible, and look, I take full responsibility. I built the group. My job is to make sure everything's coordinated.
But how did the
execute
number? I mean, I don't mean to be pedantic here, but how did the number?
Have you ever had somebody's contact that shows their name, and then you have somebody else's number there?
I never make those mistakes.
Right? You got somebody else's number on someone else's contact. So of course I didn't see this loser in the group. It looked like someone else. Now whether he did it deliberately or it happened in some other technical mean is something we're trying to figure out.
So your staffer did not put his contact information.
No,
but how did it end up in your
that's
phone?
what we're trying to figure out.
Okay, but that's a pretty big problem.
That's what we've got the best technical minds, right?
That's disturbing.
And that's where, I mean, I'm sure everybody out there has had a contact where it was said one person and then a different phone number.
But you've never talked to him before, so how's the number on your phone? I mean, I'm not an expert in any of this, but it's just curious. How's the number on your phone?
Well, if you have somebody else's contact and then somehow it gets
someone
sucked
sent
in,
you that
it gets
contact.
sucked in.
Was there someone else supposed to be on the chat that wasn't on the chat that you thought was on the chat?
So the person that I thought was on there was never on there. It was this
Who
guy.
was that? What person?
Well, I'm not. Look, okay. Laura, I take responsibility. I built the group.
Oh.
So the upshot is somehow Jeffrey Goldberg gets put on. I'm telling you, I think somebody put him on. I don't actually think that Mike screwed up. I don't think any of that happened. By the way, nothing was like extraordinary that got put there. they're trying to say, oh, this is like big deal plans. Can I just also say, like, that actually went well. Unlike Afghanistan, that op actually went very well. Mountain Goddess coming back and joining us again here. Thank you again for your generosity. So appreciated. We're independent here, so we love that. Have you ever read the book Color, Communism, and Common Sense by Manning Johnson? No, but I will actually. Look, this whole sort of movement towards Marxism and CRT, etc. It's all like grounded in this lofty intellectual thinking that came out of academia and a lot of law schools actually, and really has just is perverted, frankly, in its own way and in its thinking. And if you ask me, is fundamentally racist itself, because it's assuming that someone can't be whatever they want to be because of the color of their skin. And that's just bogus. That's not what this country is. That's why people come here to this country, thank you very much, because we're not that kind of place. And we got plenty of successful groups here in the United States of America. Vivek Ramaswamy will tell you that, and so will the Vice President of the United States' wife, Usha, who's going up to Greenland, by the way. But look, this is the Atlantic thing. The Trump administration actually texted me. I don't think this was an accident. I think that somebody wanted to keep tabs on them and then thought this would be fun, and this could be like the new takedown, just like we had Russia, which was a complete joke. Thank you. President Trump is declassifying all documents associated with that because Obama's team was spying on several GOP campaigns, not one, at least two. We had George Papadopoulos, who was the victim of this stuff with 3 different honeypot schemes. I know, George. He's now married to a very beautiful wife. But anyway, George went through a lot. And they kept targeting him on Ben Carson's campaign and then on Trump's campaign. And I'm just telling you guys, like, there's something up. They did something. These things can happen. Like, hacks can happen. And you can say, well, maybe they shouldn't have been on Signal to begin with, whatever. They should have been using something else. I'll just say that I think it was deliberate. The choice of Jeffrey Goldberg tells me a lot. And now you got people asking crazy questions like this. Was it Pete's fault? Was he drinking? They're going back to that. Let me just tell you, the CIA chief, John Radcliffe, boom, he answered this thing exactly how it deserved to be answered. Kudos to him. Watch.
To your knowledge, do you know whether Pete Hegseth had been drinking before he leaked classified information?
I don't have any knowledge of Secretary Hegseth's personal habits.
Director Radcliffe, same question. Yes or no?
No, I'm going to answer that. I think that's an offensive line of questioning. The answer is no. I find it interesting that you want to... I'm going to answer. You asked me a question, you want an answer?
No, listen,
you don't want to focus on the good work that the CIA is doing, that the intelligence community...
Director, I reclaim my time. Director, I reclaim my time. Here, I have huge respect for the CIA, huge respect for our men and women in uniform. But this was a question that's on the top of minds of every American, right? He stood in front of a podium in Europe holding a drink. So, of course, we want to know if his performance is compromised. If people were asking if the General Austin was compromised because of a heart issue,
was his performance compromised because of a successful strike?
Back. Mister, I bring my...
you want to know, you want to talk about accepting responsibility? Do you think you should accept responsibility for a successful strike to make Americans safer? You want to focus on...
He wants to reclaim his time because he realizes it was a stupid question that was completely irrelevant. And here, I will say this. It was a successful attack. And this seems kind of innocuous. Like, I mean, honestly, right? If Signal can be hacked, I suspect it can be hacked by us. It can probably be hacked by one Katherine Maher and her little cronies that run the board, including our former head of the NSC, one Jay Sullivan. Interesting crowd. All right, so I think we know where this came from. I mean, John Radcliffe saying as well, like how the CIA set it up for him, the Biden CIA.
So that we're clear, one of the first things that happened when I was confirmed as CIA director was Signal was loaded onto my computer at the CIA, as it is for most CIA officers. One of the things that I was briefed on very early, Senator, was by the CIA records management folks about the use of Signal as a permissible work use. It is. That is a practice that preceded the current administration to the Biden administration.
Director Radcliffe. So I'm just going to go back to, so these are the texts, right? And Pete Hegseth responded after Jeffrey Goldberg published these and basically said, you don't know what you're talking about because these are not exactly war plans. Again, it was a successful mission, so that's the good news. It's suspicious that it didn't actually get into more dangerous hands per se. It seems to me like it was an inside job. And I see some of you guys are asking, well, what about the staffer that put the phone contact in? Is it the staffer's fault? I think that's too obvious. Way too obvious. I think that they had some other way of getting into his phone and perhaps relabeling someone in there. Nelson Reyes, thank you. Again, you guys are so generous, and I appreciate your commentary both on my style. Thank you for the compliment about my no-nonsense style and content that your 5-year-old daughter can overhear in the background and wouldn't be upset about. That actually means a lot. You know, I have 3 kids, so they often watch my YouTube channel and they watch the show. So like I say, we got to keep it clean. We got to keep it clean as much as we can. I appreciate your generosity. Thank you. But this is the thing, okay? So it was a successful mission. And Pete points out, like, you guys just don't know what you're talking about. Let me get this straight. He writes, the Atlantic released the so-called war plans, and those plans include no names, no targets, no locations, no units, no routes, no sources, no methods, and no classified information. So those must be some really bad war plans. The only thing proven here is that Jeff Goldberg has never seen a war plan or an attack plan in his life, not even close. You know, they're trying to derail everything. This is what they do, and it's wrong, but I think it's par for the course. These people cannot accept that the world is changing because we Americans are demanding it. You know, I've got contacts in deep state and CIA and this and that and the other, and what I've always been told is, well, we can kind of arrange things, right, on the margin because they controlled the flow of information. All the propaganda that will get pushed out overseas. It's harder now. That's why you have millions of dollars going to the likes of Reuters from the State Department to help with social media stuff. All right, that's what that USAID has become, right? They're trying to push out their messages, and that's the name of the game. The problem is they've turned it on us, as we've talked about. Thanks to Obama and the Smith-Mundt Act and its modernization in 2013, which enabled all that USAID money to then be used to fight for and on behalf of democracy right here back at home. So it's all coming out. And they're terrified of it. They're absolutely terrified, and that's why they're resisting so much. That they don't want the truth, because the truth actually implicates them. Quick reminder, I think I told you about this yesterday, guys. I've got a big event coming up, the Freedom Fighters event with JCN. This is Job Creators Network. I'm really excited about it. Going down to Savannah, Georgia, which is beautiful. May 1st, I think it'll be great weather. May 1st and 2nd. I'd love for you to attend if you can attend. It's the annual Freedom Fighters Summit. We're going to have a lot of people that you may recognize there. I keep laughing because they gave me a script to read for this ad. I never read the scripts, but you know, I try to stick to the bullet points. And it says we're going to be discussing pressing issues facing our nation with conservative luminaries leading America's political revolution with media stars like Trish Regan. And then a whole bunch of other people. Bill Bennett will be there. My friend Mike Gallagher is also over at Salem. Sarah Carter, who's a wonderful investigative reporter. We have Kellyanne Conway, who's going to be there. My dear friend Steve Moore and Grover Norquist, who I love, you know, because I hate taxes too. Governors Youngkin. Oh, that's great. We really got to talk to Youngkin because he's been all over this with ICE, right? Governor Kemp, along with members of the president's cabinet, members of Congress. It is going to be phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Here's the thing, there's only 150 tickets. So if you want to go, I encourage you to go. Use this code word Salem because you'll get the second ticket. If you want to take your spouse or a friend, you'll get the second ticket at 50% off. So buy one, get the second one, 50% off, 150 that are available that I can allocate out to you you guys with Salem as the code word. So JCN2025summit.com, JCN2025summit.com. I will put that in the show notes for you because you may want to do that. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really, really looking forward to it and looking forward to some good weather. Hopefully it's good weather. I'll tell you, you never know.